spent my savings on my family's crisis and discovered they'd been planning a cruise the whole time. My family has always had this unspoken rule that since I'm the only one without kids, I'm somehow responsible for bailing everyone else out. Over the years, I've paid for car repairs, medical bills, and countless emergencies that always seemed to happen right when I was doing well financially. I told myself it was what family does for each other. At least that's what I used to think. 3 months ago, my sister called me sobbing. Mom had been diagnosed with a serious heart condition and needed surgery immediately. The insurance wouldn't cover everything, and they were looking at a $15,000 gap. Dad had already maxed out his credit cards, and my brother was still recovering from his own financial disaster last year. They needed help, and they needed it fast. The calls came daily after that. Mom, weak and trembling, telling me she understood if I couldn't help but that she was scared about what would happen if they had to wait. Dad, proud as always, actually choking up as he explained they might have to postpone the surgery indefinitely. My sister sent me photos from the hospital. Mom hooked up to monitors, looking frail and terrified. The doctors were saying time was critical. I'd been saving for a house down payment for 3 years. Every overtime shift, every skip vacation, every night eating ramen instead of ordering takeout, it all went into that account. $18,000. My entire future sitting there, waiting for me to finally buy my own place and stop renting forever. But what choice did I have? This was my mother's life we were talking about. I transferred every penny the next morning. They were so grateful it almost made me cry. Mom actually sobbed when I told her the money was on its way, saying I was saving her life. Dad hugged me for the first time in years, telling me he was proud to have raised such a selfless son. My sister posted on Facebook about what an amazing brother she had, and the whole extended family was praising me for stepping up when it mattered most. For once in my life, I felt like the family hero instead of just the family ATM. 2 weeks later, I was feeling good about myself, despite being completely broke. Sure, I was back to square one financially, but I had saved my mother's life. I was eating peanut butter sandwiches for dinner and couldn't afford to go out with friends, but it was worth it. That's when my cousin Jake called me, excited about something he'd seen on social media. He'd spotted photos on my brother's Instagram story. The whole family, mom, dad, my sister, my brother, and all their kids, on what looked like a massive cruise ship. Tropical drinks by the pool, formal dinners in elegant dining rooms, excursions to private islands. The photos were dated from just 2 days ago. Jake was confused because he thought mom was supposed to be recovering from major heart surgery. My stomach dropped to the floor. I hung up and immediately went to my brother's Instagram. There they were, dozens of photos and videos from what was clearly an expensive week-long cruise. Mom looked healthier than I'd seen her in years, dancing on the deck and posing with cocktails. The whole family was having the time of their lives on what had to be a several $1,000 vacation. I drove straight to my parents' house, screenshots ready on my phone. Mom answered the door with a perfect tan and a guilty expression that told me everything I needed to know. When I showed her the photos, she didn't even try to deny it. She just sighed deeply and said they figured I'd find out eventually, but they were hoping it would be after they got back. There was no heart condition, no surgery, no medical emergency at all. Mom had gotten a routine checkup 3 months ago, and they'd used her normal appointment paperwork to create fake medical bills with dad's printer and some creative photo editing. They'd been planning this family reunion cruise for over 6 months, a luxury trip that I was deliberately excluded from because they needed someone to fund it. My sister tried to justify it by saying they all deserved a vacation after working so hard all their lives. Dad said I made more money than any of them, so it wasn't like I'd really missed the $18,000. Mom actually had the nerve to say they knew I'd want them to enjoy themselves instead of worrying about money, and that I should be happy they used my gift for something that brought the whole family together. But here's the part that really destroyed me. My brother, maybe feeling guilty or maybe just drunk on post-vacation confidence, pulled out his phone and showed me a group chat from 6 months ago. The whole family had been planning this elaborate scheme for months. They were joking about how gullible I was, making bets about how fast I'd hand over the money when they played the dying mother card, and laughing about how I always fell for their sob stories. I stared at those messages for a long time. Messages about how I was such a sucker and how easy it always is to get money out of him. They'd even joked about what other fake emergencies they could create in the future. My own family had turned scamming me into a group activity. I walked out of that house without saying another word, but I wasn't done, not even close. They had no idea what they'd unleashed, because being the family's personal ATM for years had taught me a lot about all of their finances, and I had access to information they definitely didn't want getting out. What I did next didn't just get my money back, it completely destroyed their lives. I can't finish it here. Full story linked below.